Well, hope I don't get a text. Hey, everybody. So, let's do it again. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Current Mood. It's time for another chill period in our week. And what a long, difficult week it's been. Never been happier to have a show with this kind of a premise than I am this week. Totally into doing it. You know, sometimes there might be a Sunday that approaches where I go, oh, I've got a show tonight and I'm not ready to do it. I'm really in the mood to do this show. I hope you're really in the mood to watch it. We've got a lot of great stuff planned for you. It's Veterans Day, so happy Veterans Day to anybody out there who is a veteran or someone who has lost someone as a veteran or someone who cares for someone both as a family member or a friend. We're thinking about you, and it's just been a very stressful week. And that says nothing about what it might have been like in your personal lives. And when you compound that, well, it's just time to hang out for a little bit. I'm really psyched to do the show this week. It's not as much structure as last week, which I think is good every once in a while, just to take it easy and chill. I come to you from a photo shoot. If you're wondering why I look so nice right now, it's because I came from a photo shoot. And when you come from a photo shoot, when you're done after they put the makeup on, they say to you, hey, you want me to take the makeup off? And you go, don't you dare take the makeup off. Sometimes I'll do a photo shoot, and right when I'm about to leave, they're like, do you want to take the makeup off? And I go, no. And I go, in fact, I'm going out after this just to go show everybody the extra. I'm juicing today. I'm visually juicing with the makeup I have on. Let's see what's going on down in the comments. Hey, everybody. The screen didn't freeze. I'm just reading. Someone asks a very impertinent question. Is that a 3/4 sleeve? It is a 3/4 sleeve, and I thank you for asking. How's everyone doing out there in the crowd? Everyone good? We got a, by the way, that's not me pressing a button. This is me pressing a button. This is real crowd. Real crowd. And that's not a sample of someone saying, great show. That's someone who really wants me to know that it's a great show. There he is. Great show guy. We've now have... By the way, I have to tell you, everybody watching right now in this room are professional comedy people. And it is one of the craziest things that I, a frustrated comic, I'm sitting in front of the camera, and everybody behind me has a career in comedy, and they're actually nice enough to watch me flounder here. Last show we did, we shot some really high definition video on some really expensive cameras. I mean, these are like, you shoot movies on these cameras these guys brought in. But the high definition, you know, you see certain things a little too clearly, and you could see too clearly that I'm not funny. So we went back to... Thank you.
Great choice.
Thank you. So we went back. Now we have 3 iPhones going. So when you see this on Instagram TV, you'll see their iPhones going. Funny people in the room. We did a segment last week called "Can I Talk to You Over Here for a Minute?" And it did gangbusters. Everyone loved it. And so we're going to do it again right now, if only to hear the song. This is Can I Talk to You Over Here for a Minute? Today's Can I Talk to You Over Here for a Minute? Please turn your radios down at home. Please turn your radios down at home. Websites that try to make me open what they're showing me in an app. Websites that try to show me what I'm trying to look at in an app. You know, I was taught never let a stranger take you to a second location, and that advice could never be better in this case. All I wanted to do was watch 2 drunk people fight in the McDonald's parking lot. And now you want to bring the App Store into this. I don't want to do that at all. I just want to watch these people fight in a McDonald's parking lot. I work hard all day. Sometimes I go on tour for months. All I want to do when I get home is snuggle into bed, put on a soothing face mask, and watch drunk people go at it in fast food parking lots. I don't want to open it up on another app. Something about this seems like it benefits only you. So if you could please stop asking me and let me finish watching these drunk fights, sure would appreciate it. But wait! It's a bonus. Can I talk to you over here for a minute? This one goes out to the person in front of me in traffic who left the lane and now wants back in. Hey, person in traffic in front of me who left the lane and wants back in. Yeah, far cry from the person you were a couple minutes ago, huh? Remember when you're full of all that piss and vigor and thought you were going to find that open road just to the right of us both? Like I was stupid, just didn't want to go in the right lane. You knew something I didn't do. Remember how you saw the world full of promise? Then you left all hot and bothered and hot to trot into the right lane. And then you realized that the reason none of us are in the right lane is because people are parked all along the right lane. And then you wanted back in, almost exactly where I let you out. Come on back in. Come on back in. It's all right. It's all right. Aww. I just hope we know that now you're going to drive a little differently, aren't you? You're going to take it a little slower now? All right. Thanks very much. That was Can I Talk to You over here for a minute. What's going on there in the comments? Let's not forget that when I first started doing this show, I would look in the comments and see what was going on. Who's got fun stuff? Anybody have a question in the comments? Or a comment in the questions? Or a thumbs up? Or a thumbs down? John's wardrobe is provided by Botany 500. That's the old like Price is Right or Wheel of Fortune credit. That's really, really funny. Jensen is on. Jensen is from Hawaii right now. He's on a honeymoon. He's in Hawaii. What color sweatshirt is this? This is a natural dye, pink. If you're scoring at home. What kind of sheets do I like? You know, I've never really kept track of what sheets I like, but the people at Wamsutta, they seem to make a good sheet, don't they?
What's the thread count?
I like 4. I like 4. I like my whole body to be able to slip in and out through the threadings. I like it. Just looks like a net. It just looks like a cargo net. It's breezy. Great joke. Great joke. Oh, man. Pictures of text is both in the comments. It's funny. He watches the show. He's here. Pictures of text.
I can't get enough of this show.
PJ Novak is in the audience, and he's texting people he's in the comments, and he's in the audience. Oh, unbelievable. All right. Shall we move on? Let's move on to something. This is actually something I've never done on the show before, which is address a serious topic. And you might look, I do a lot of dry comedy sometimes, and you look so dry sometimes it's not funny at all. But then I have to wet it down with things that are funny, and my friends help me write it. But this is a real segment we're going to do. So with the very tragic shooting on Wednesday night in Thousand Oaks, the killer was mentioned to have had PTSD to some extent. And I do a lot of work, as I have for years, with an organization that both studies and treats PTSD. And I wrote the person I work with there, an incredibly bright person named Gerard Chacroun. And I said, what does this mean for PTSD in terms of the optics of it, or people's perception of PTSD? Because to be quite honest, I was going to write an op-ed about PTSD for Veterans Day, and I think it just changed the tenor of ever doing that. And I reached out to Gerard, and I asked him, hey, what does this change? And he was such an expert, as he always is, about PTSD. And a lot of times on the internet you read a lot of opinion, but there is something called expert advice, expert information. And I think that's very relieving to hear an expert talk. So Gerard was nice enough to sit by his phone and wait for me to get through all this lunacy to get to something I think is going to be very helpful to people. He is an expert in PTSD and traumatic brain injury, and he is currently the director of veterans programs at the Presidio Trust in San Francisco, California. We're going to try to bring him in, so if you don't mind, if you could just bear with me for a minute while I work out the finer points of hitting a button that doesn't work. Okay, here we go. And this should...
This is the low point.
I don't quite know why it's not. Maybe he's not watching. Gerard, are you in there? Are you in there, Gerard? Can everybody just drop off? We have 12.5 thousand people. If everybody who isn't Gerard could just go ahead and close down the video, then I'll find Gerard, and then you can come right back in. How do we do this? We're gonna edit this out, I'm sure, but okay. Maybe you can request me, Gerard. Can you request me? Yeah. Oh, here he is. Here he is. You were under. Okay. Whew. We got it. We're gonna. Here's Gerard Chacroun. We're gonna add him in now. Did I just lose him? Hold on. There he is. Here he is. He's going to come in now. We're just going to wait. We're waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gerard Chacroun to the show. I have to change the way that I do. So, Gerard, can you hear me over there?
Yeah, I can hear you pretty well. Let me adjust my phone.
So you're everyone out there, you are about to hear an expert in PTSD and traumatic brain injury and reintegration of returning combat vets in many ways into society. And Gerard, why don't you tell people what exactly you do on a day-to-day basis at the Presidio Trust?
There, which is basically trying to get veterans involved in their community a little bit more and to try to get the community more fluent in what's going on with veterans, past tense and present. You and I have worked together for a long time in the PTSD research world. And so at the Presidio, it's kind of the application of that, trying to bring, veterans into the culture a little bit more smoothly.
And what's the good news you can tell people about PTS research, and what are the challenges that still lie ahead for everyone?
Well, PTSD is a relative compared to other sort of mental health problems like depression and anxiety and so forth. And we haven't known as much.
I think people PTSD what?
We haven't known as much about PTSD about other. It's a young field that we're getting better. Can you hear me? Are you coming through?
As much about PTSD as other things, but you're learning as you go. You're learning more and more as you go, and you know more about it now than you did certainly when you and I first met about 10 years ago.
That's right, particularly the biology. Like, it's not just people get spooked by a difficult thing. It's actually changes in the body and the mind, and we're starting to understand those better so we can kind of treat and prevent and diagnose much better now than we could before, and that those advances are continuing.
And what still lies ahead? What's the thing you wish people could understand? What's your obstacle here in moving it forward like you wish you could?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of room for what's kind of called personalized medicine, where we're able to not just take people and shove them into one or two treatments that we know work, but to create a wider variety of treatments that work for more people, and to create things that are more palatable, particularly to veterans who may not feel comfortable taking medication or going in and talking about their problems to a therapist who they don't know or who's younger than them. We want to be able to increase the utilization of resources by getting more veterans into treatments.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear you say that. When you and I first met 10 years ago, most people need resources. You've had resources for quite a while. Correct me if I'm wrong. You need people to take you up on the resources. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's on us actually to develop a wider variety of resources that people will use. So it's not
technology. I hope people can hear you. I don't know if they can hear you right now, Jared. We are certainly okay. Well, unfortunately, we have a freeze with Gerard. We're gonna have to have him on the show next time. I hope you understand. Here with by talking to an expert. He's fallen off. I hope you see that as a sum total win for both the show and for Veterans Day, to know that Gerard was, who is such a bright guy and has dedicated every minute of his life to PTSD research and building resources. And then, you know, I think he has built resources far greater than a lot of people understand, most people understand. And a big issue is getting people to use them, getting people to become aware of them. And as you heard him say, it's on him. A very selfless thing to say, that it's on him and his organization to make sure that it's presented in the right way. And we will do that. And so let me speak for Gerard and I both in saying that we have a foundation called Heart and Armor, and it will be launched sort of en masse in February. And so we will definitely try to get him back. Unless you want to try it again, I don't know that technologically we're going to have a better connection if we do it again. Should we try it again one more time? You guys would be the best if you would let me do that. Let me just try it again one more time. Let's see if it works again. This is definitely worth trying to make it work. Maybe we. Gerard, do you think we have a better connection?
I think so. I don't know.
Let's give it a try. I tried to speak for you. I did my best. Let's see if the gods of internet are on our side here. When it comes to the shooting last week in Thousand Oaks, and you hear a lot of people mentioning the killer having had PTSD to some degree or another, what extent, if any, did PTSD play into somebody in a mass shooting situation?
I mean, first off, it's, you know, I've never met him. We haven't diagnosed him. We don't. You got to be careful about diagnosing from far away. But you know, I think it's worth saying that this is like mass murder is not a logical extension of PTSD. I think you and I have talked about this. Like PTSD is sort of lovely and sad, and then a lot of the damage becomes internal, where these external forces, you know, if it's things like you can't sleep or recurrent difficult memories, or you kind of have emotional numbing. A lot of it usually happens to the person who's suffering from it. There's some research about increased aggression, like reactivity, road rage, and even domestic violence, which, you know, is not great, but it's not mass murder. That's an entirely different thing. And the problem with these sorts of events is that it's an easy out. It's an easy explanation. It's like a very Hollywood trope that like someone has been traumatized and then they go out and harm people to get back at them. But it's really, that's not how PTSD works. That's not what veterans are. That's not what veterans with PTSD are. He may have had PTSD. It certainly wouldn't have helped. But this kind of sociopath, like mass murder, that's not PTSD. And so some of the headlines are concerning when we conflate somebody who has problems sleeping and nightmares and health problems with somebody who goes out and shoots up a crowd. That's awful. It's different. It's terrible. But that's, if you solve PTSD, you're not solving that. That's not an explanation.
Right. I think that's the most important thing that anybody could take from this. And thank you. What a brilliant and generous thing you've done to say that. That is from an expert. That is such a relief to hear an expert. This is not your opinion. This is years of research going into that. And it echoes something that I wanted to say, and I wanted you to say it so that it wasn't a guy on his Instagram caption where sometimes you can suffer the slings and arrows of people thinking this and that about that. You just want to say, this is not PTSD. This is not vets. And you almost want to say to vets, this isn't you. We know this isn't you. To the people who are close to someone who's a vet, this is not your friend. This is not what your brother has. This is not what your sister has. This is not what your mom or dad has. This is different. And you setting that straight is maybe the most important message of the week on that.
Well, and just to vets who are out there, you know, it's hard to go seek help for PTSD. No one wants to do it. It's an unpleasant thing. It's very isolating. So when you see images of people, you know, shot up, you think that that's what people are going to think you are. So there's a sort of other thing going on where it adds to the stigma for people who really could get these symptoms taken care of fairly, you know, quickly to sort of think they're going to be branded as a mass murderer if they seek help for PTSD. So it's important. That messaging is very helpful, and you've always been really great about that.
Yeah, well, I can't thank you enough for being the one to say it. You have to understand about Gerard. He is a harbinger of hope. Every time I meet him, he gives me more good news. And I think there is good news. He isolates the good news and he focuses on the good news. And I'll be damned if that good news doesn't breed more good work. You just really are always on the brighter side of the challenges. And every time I meet him, he's got better and better news. So there is someone out there, and there's a great team out there, and you're not the only one and not the only team, but the work you do, I believe, is peerless. And even when you're not thinking about it out there in the world, there are people who have made this their main focus in life, and they're fighting this fight. And Gerard, I couldn't thank you enough for coming on a Sunday night with such short notice, helping to give some insight to this. And we'll definitely be talking to you guys again soon in some other capacity when it comes to Heart and Armor. But thank you so much for coming on the show and making a real show out of it by doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're awesome. Thanks so much, Gerard Chacon, everybody.
Bye.
Wow, that was really fantastic. That was great. And sometimes I find myself wanting to say things. Listen, if you can, get yourself a friend who's an expert and just go do that. Just say that thing, you know, like I play the guitar fairly well. Not as good putting the thoughts I have together. He is a master at looking at this and making sense of it. And I hope you all had the feeling I had when he put some things in perspective for you. So what's going on there? This is actually great. People saying it was awesome and clapping. Thanks for the education. That is very cool. That is very, very cool. I have a little bit of like a nervous kind of buzz from having done that. That felt really good. You know, sometimes you do something like really good and it makes you feel sort of amped up or a little scared from it. But thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Mort is still going on only about my fit. Mr. Mort's, he should be on the show and just always point out my outfit. It's time to get to our next guest on the show. You will know him because you grew up with him. He's on so many things, a real legend. He's been on America's Funniest Home Videos. He was on Full House. You know him from so many things. He's a wonderful stand-up. He's a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. Just got married a couple weeks ago. We're going to talk about that as well. Please welcome the one and only legendary Mr. Bob Saget. Well, I don't watch that.
No, that was a beautiful guest. He's wonderful.
He's fantastic.
Now, where do I go? What do I do?
We sort of do that.
Okay, that's as good.
So, Bob, you just got married a couple weeks ago.
I did.
How have your 2 weeks of marriage been?
It's been amazing. It's been, we had a little bit of relatives, which is always good. Mm-hmm. They're good when they're in the room with you, when you're trying to consummate.
They were there when you were trying to consummate.
Always. I like an audience it's just like this.
Right.
It's set up just like this.
But you invite the relatives.
All of them. All of them.
Do you find having relatives in the room, are they more critical of your job because you're family, or they just rib you more? They always roast the ones.
Yeah, you roast the ones. Yeah, it's like the aristocrats. They wanted to join in, but they applaud and they say things like "good joke." They do that.
And then occasionally you get an older family.
I should do a whole thing with my family watching me in bed with my beautiful wife Kelly.
You think you might hear an uncle go like, "That's not what that's for."
Yeah, that's right. That's not where that goes. But I'm being violent.
Right.
But you sang at the wedding, and it wasn't even something that was going to happen. And then in the afternoon, you said, "I'd like to do this as a gift." And there was something you said that was so beautiful. It was a talk before it.
I sat down. You and your lovely now wife Kelly was sitting across from me, across the dance floor. It was actually really nice. And I sat and played you a couple of songs. And I went on one of those things, when you tell so much the truth from your heart, you kind of don't remember what you said because you're sort of in a trance of love. You'll have to remind me what it was I said.
I will tell you because as you know, as my friends that are here, your Peanut Gallery of brilliant writers, BJ and Jordan and my wife Kelly, and then these lovely people with cameras. But I had a lot of tragedy in my life, and a lot of people are going through so much right now. I mean, it's like insane. While this is happening, there's people that can't watch it because their Wi-Fi's out because they don't have a house.
Right.
And so I've been in kind of that little bit targeted on television. And,
For a transcript of tonight's show, please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to
and I will ramble
Current
off.
Mood, P.O. Box 462, Chatsworth, California, and we'll make sure to get you a transcript of the show if you can't find it online.
I'll supply all the IBIDs. But what happened was I've had a lot of deaths and stuff, and so John mentioned that as an intro to a love song. That
it worked. Don't worry, it worked.
But what he did was he said something very kind to me because he's such a dear friend and a brother, and he said, for all that I've been through, you said something personal to me, which is I've always somehow stayed positive.
You're unbelievably positive.
Well, that's what you're like. You're a gift, you know. That's how I look at you, because I like to see you in a bow and nothing more.
It's the December.November event.
For a transcript of this, please go to my email directly at AOL.
For a transcript of Bob Saget's brain,
you can
go. It's on the cloud. It's on the cloud.
It's in a jar. But what he said was your reward for all of the difficulty you've been through is Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
It's this is your reward, your wife.
Yeah.
And I haven't been married for a very long time. It's I think I've been about 85 years.
Yeah.
I think I'm 115.
Right, because
I sucked the blood of a bat once.
Because World War II, right.
Yeah, it was a World War II veteran.
I'm just using waypoints chronologically. It was about 85 years.
Yeah. But she is a gift, and she is wonderful. And I'm difficult. Do you find yourself to be a difficult person to have a relationship with?
I seem difficult.
I have no problem having a relationship with you.
I'm sort of like a certain dance or something where when you first look at it, you go, there's no way I can learn that. And then once you learn the dance, you can watch other people do it. Oh, I know what he's doing. So at first you think it is complete gibberish. And then you realize, like Klingon, well, there's rhyme and reason to this. I just don't understand it fully.
Klingon like from Star Trek?
No, like when you don't wipe enough.
Oh, Klingon like a dingleberry?
High five it. We're 7 feet apart from each other. It's just the lens.
There's a delay here. Don't keep me hanging.
But at first,
Good joke.
I'm actually leaning on your knee. That's how close we are.
You can do that. You can do that.
Lean on knee.
Lean on knee.
Lean on knee.
Yeah.
But
Bury your elbow at wounded knee.
Welcome to Free Association with Bob Saget.
No, it's just how I talk. It's not free.
It is actually what
People have to pay for it.
So first, I seem unpredictable, but then once you can predict me, like if anybody wanted to take a mob hit out on me, I'd be the easiest person to kill.
No, don't say stuff. Don't draw that in.
Well, I make my payments on time.
That's why
I don't have any issue.
Right. I do that on my washer dryer.
You know what I mean? Guys, I don't really own a fish company. Can I be honest with you?
Do you don't have a meat packing thing?
No.
Do you need any steak knives or suits? I'm going to go downtown. I know a guy that has a lift.
Yep. Nope. It's all a front. My music career is just a front.
No, you are a muse.
Oh.
You are a muse and you are a poet.
Thank you, man.
It was funny because Ben Folds, who's a mutual friend, was at the wedding, and he said that 6 minutes before you played 2 songs. He said each 6 minutes that you spoke before each song, he said those are songs.
Oh,
he said all you need to do is put your tunes to them, and that is sometimes your most effortless, even though sometimes you've told me it's a process. It takes a long time.
Well, to love somebody as much as I love you is to basically have a teleprompter running of things you can say about them all the time. We all have someone in our life where we're so acquainted and acquainted with them and our feelings for them that at any time we could launch into a sermon about how great they are. And
I can do that about you because there's a comfort level that you give me, which is why I have leakage right now. Try to add humor to a day with so much tragedy, and it's a vortex 20 miles from here.
It's very strange.
We lost all these kids, these people, this hero, this police hero, and then now we've got this town on fire where all these people, and it started not far from this area, and it's up north. It's down. It's
and you add that up with people who went out all weekend and have only started feeling good these last 4 hours. I mean, even on a week where nothing remarkable happens, I feel like, given the state of the world, the end of the week should end with me being like, it's going to be okay, which you have had to believe in some of the times it was hardest that everything was going to be okay. How do you do that? How do you find the comedy in so much, occasionally, I mean, you also have great times in life, but these are occasionally incredibly sad, grief-filled times. You still find a way to joke in the midst of it.
Well, my dad did it. And so I was kind of raised with it. So about 9 years old, somebody died like every year, like every family member. And he would just find humor in it. We'd be laughing at the Shiva, which is when it's a thing Jewish people have instead of awake where they're cold, so they Shiva. And there's Delhi.
Great joke.
Not bad.
Great. A little anti-Semitic, but we'll get through. That's the other thing that's going on. Before this is all a distraction. What we're living out here from all the insanity that's going on in the world, and we don't want that insanity. We want people to be human and love each other, and that's what you send out more love. And as you get older, I think you're 32 now.
32.
And I'm 104 on the freeway, but you can't use that freeway right now.
No.
But the point is that love is stupid and cliche as some people want to believe it is. It truly is the thing that somehow pulls you through.
Yeah, we've also, and I agree with that. We've also.
But you can't, if you disagreed with that, you'd be the devil.
Yeah, I just didn't want to be the guy who goes, yeah, now here's the thing I've been waiting to say for 30 seconds. I don't want to be that guy.
You don't have your cards waiting for your next question.
I'm out of cards. These cards are done. I'm out of it.
Oh my
That was a
God.
good throw, right?
That was great.
The people that I'm talking to, I assume, are younger than me. And I think even if I'm wrong, that's a good way to kind of look at this show. And you and I have seen the world both ways. We're amphibious. We saw the world before being plugged into everything going on local levels all around the world. Like, there used to be a thing called local and national and international. Well, now there's international local, which means we know the locales in every world. So every time somebody goes haywire, every time something crazy goes on, every time somebody says something that's really hurtful to another person and it's on video, we experience it. And I really want to say, the people out there, this is a new thing. You guys have been saddled with so much to see and feel throughout the day that I think it's really important to be someone at the end of the week to just be like, look, we'll deal with that. That's a lot of energy you guys are taking on. We're all taking on every week. But right now, you get to just chill for a minute. You guys have signed up to be a generation that is very difficult to take on. Your mental health days should be from the big world so that you can continue to live in the small world, not from everything. You know, there's this kind of sentiment going around the world, like it's too much to take. I just want to go lay in bed. You've got to draw a line between the big world and the small world. And sometimes you got to find the balance. And there's a lot going on in the big world that's very scary. That's very dire. We've got to dig out these places and these times in our small world to still feel joy, to still feel happiness, to say, in the face of all of this real ugly stuff, we're still doing okay this week in our life with our friends and our family who are safe. And you got married in all of this. I mean, the backdrop of the larger world is crazy, but you got married and had one of the most beautiful times in your life a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I was very lucky. But a lot of the young people also become complacent, or there's a lot of cynicism, and they want to escape, and they would just stay high the whole time, which is not, it's not a put down, but disconnect because it's so painful. And that's what a lot of people do. They drink, they whatever they have to do to get through. But there's also something to be said for, even in an altered state, or if you're in a sober state, is to stay connected and try to stay connected to others. And not isolate, because I do that sometimes, and you do it sometimes. And you need your quiet time too. You need the old cliche, but you need to be empty to fill up.
And there's a lot of fill up every single day, and there's got to be a way to just chill for a minute and do a little good for your friends. You guys are my friend, 8,705 friends, and you're still gonna find ways to make me and everyone laugh during all of this stuff.
I have to, and the gentlemen here have to, because it's part of their gift, and it's part of, if you have it, if you have the ability to be funny and people care to hear you,
and
see
they do with
you. I'm fortunate, and to be able to make people laugh, especially now, as it seems to be compounding. It seems to be crazy. I'm just going to do more and more of it. And of course, it makes you want to write all new stuff. And makes you want to say, I can't say it the way I used to say it. I have to do it the way the greats of our present and the greats of our past have done it.
Well, listen, you have brought a lot of joy to people in their lives over the years. And now you have joy brought in your life through your lovely wife. And you couldn't deserve this joy that you have had and will continue to have more, my friend. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'd also like to say something about Joy dishwashing liquid, because Joy is not just a state of being. It is also one of the smoothest soaps. And I have no ties. There's no sponsorship here. I think it's Palmolive makes it. Is Joy?
They merged.
It's fantastic. So enjoy and Palmolive, but it washes your dishes and it soothes your hands. And I get nothing out of this. I just think it's a fine product.
It is.
I don't use it.
Word up to Joy Behar. I'd like to also give.
I think it's Bahar, by the way.
Is it Bahar?
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, look, you try to do a nice thing and still get in trouble.
That's true. Well, I'm gonna split, and I love you.
I love you too, Bob.
I love you very
You're the
much.
best.
You are too, and I'd like to buy some of those Beanie Babies. So tell me.
And you can have.
Tell me how
You can
much.
have. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Saget. Well, everybody. It's time to sign off. But there's something I'd like to leave you with. It's a thought that I want you to take through the rest of the week and maybe beyond. You know, a lot of times in your text, you get someone who writes you and they say, did I offend you? Did I upset you? Are you mad at me? And you write, no, I just haven't written you back. So I want to address that for a minute. This is John Mayer's rules for apologies, okay? Rule number 1, I will not try to offend you and you will not try to offend me. Beautiful. We get that, move that to the side. There are 3 options. Option 1, you were never offended by the thing I thought you might be offended by. In which case, I don't have to worry, because you'll never bring it up and I'll never think about it. Because, number 2, if you were offended and you aren't anymore because you got over it, then it's the same thing. I never have to worry about it. Number 3, you were offended, tried to get over it, and can't, and you need to bring it up to me. That is a wonderful thing. It means I won't worry for you unless you express to me that I have offended you. And when you do let me know, you will also be open to my apology. And then you can say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? This thing you said to me, it doesn't sit well with me. It just bugs me. And then I get to say, oh my God, see rule number 1. I never meant to offend you. I'm so sorry. Now I got to tell you, the chances of number 3 happening are so low. 1 and 2 happen. Number 2 happens a little more often than number 3, but number 1, where you never offended anybody, happens all the time, 90% of the time. Live with that. Enjoy the fact that no news is good news when it comes to offending your friends. Now, we'll get to that in the larger world later on. That's years from now. But let's get it in our personal lives, where if I don't hear from you that you were upset, I'm just going to boogie on and assume everything is fine. It's going to be up to you to tell me, and then we'll take care of it. Otherwise, we're just going to groove. Next week, there's going to be more bad news, and there's going to be more good news, and it's up to us to isolate the good news and bring value to the good news, because most of the good news belongs to you personally, and most of the bad news belongs to us all publicly. Remember that the news that happens to you personally is more valuable. Not to say that it's not to understand what's going on in the world, but the things in your personal life are more valuable. You can touch them and affect them and bring change about them much faster than you can with the world. You've got to figure out how to do both, but let's put a little more into our personal lives and find the happiness there. Bob Saget found happiness through his relationship and joy through his marriage. I find happiness through this show with you guys. I hope you guys find a lovely, lovely week ahead of you. I love you dearly. My thanks to Gerard Chacroun once again, Bob Saget, the great show guy off there in the corner, Jordan Rubin, BJ Novak, the camera guys who are really just standing behind iPhones. That seems like a sweet gig to me. Or can I get that one? I love you dearly. I'm John Mayer, signing off. Have an awesome week.
Yeah.